Okay, I'm going to go ahead and write this quadratic function in Vertex form. The way we do this is by called completing the square. The first thing I like to do is I'm going to get it out of function notation here. So I don't want this f of x equals. I think that starts out by confusing people, so I'm just going to go ahead and erase it here. And then over here on the right side, I'm going to put equals 0 and turn it back into an equation. All right, my first step is I want on the left side just the exponents like x squared and the single x, and I want to get rid of this positive 19. So the way I make this go away is I subtract 19 from both sides. I'll cross this out, and I'll go ahead and rewrite what I have left here. Get rid of that again. Now I have 3x squared minus 18x equals negative 19. Okay, the next step is I would prefer that this 3 wasn't there. I want a leading coefficient of 1, much easier to factor. And I notice that in this term, I can pull out a 3. And in this term, I can pull out a 3. Oh, I forgot an x right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out a 3 out of both those terms. And I'm left with x squared minus 6x. And now instead of leaving that as a binomial, I'm going to go ahead and expand it. And let's move this over a little bit. And I'm going to put plus, and I'm going to leave a space here. Squared equals negative 19. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this into a trinomial because I want something that factors. Now, students often ask, what goes in this spot right here? And it is always the exact same formula. In this scenario, it's b divided by 2. And I'm not going to look at the b up here in the original trinomial. I'm going to look at this b right here. And you'll remember the b is always the coefficient with the single x. And that gives me negative 6 divided by 2, which we know is negative 3. And that's going to go right here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. So 3 times the quantity, x squared minus 6x. Negative 3 squared, we all know, is positive 9 equals negative 19. All right, now, one thing that's very important here. You'll notice I can't just magically add things to my equation, okay, on the left side, unless I do it on the right side. So if I add a 9 here, okay, I better add it over here as well to balance out my equation. Now, one more important fact, it's not only a 9 here. Don't forget you do have this 3 outside here. So it's really 3 times 9. So over here in this space, I'm going to add 3 times 9, okay, which we know is 27. Now, the reason I made this trinomial right here is because this factors down the way I would like. So I'm going to rewrite 3 times. I'm going to go ahead and factor this. And we'll go x, and x is the only first terms that will give me x squared. I notice that my signs have to be the same, and they both have to be negatives. So negative, negative. I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to 9 and add to 6, and they happen to be negative 3 and negative 3. Now, if you're not very good at factoring, one nice thing you'll notice, whatever goes in these spots, I've already kind of determined from up there. And last but not least, we do need to go ahead and take negative 19 plus 27. Which is 8. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to finalize my answer here. I'm going to put it back in function notation. I've got 3 times. I can put these together since they look identical and say x minus 3 quantity squared. And then the last step is I'm going to move this 8 back over with the rest of the math. And I would have minus 8. And this is my final answer in vertex form. And when we move on to graphing, vertex form is definitely easier when it comes to graphing quadratics or parabolas.